Hello, miladies of inestimable value. She doesn't push people away, she just stops giving them access. There's something eerily calm about a woman who walks alone, not because she can't connect, but because she chooses who deserves to. Sigma females aren't loners by accident. They're loners by design. In a world where most people are addicted to attention, terrified of solitude, and constantly screaming, "Look at me," the Sigma female is the woman who whispers, "Don't." Here's a startling truth. According to a recent behavioral study, more than 70% of high-functioning introverted women report regularly cutting off people they consider emotionally draining, without warning, without explanation. Guess what? Most of them didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. So if you've ever wondered why Sigma females seem like they're on their own private island, no friends, no crowds, no entourage, well, maybe it's because she built a moat around her peace and burned the drawbridge. And before you assume she's bitter, lonely, or antisocial, think again. She's just operating on a frequency most people can't tune into. And the truth? That freaks them out. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear isn't some self-help fluff about strong, independent women. Nope. This is the raw, unsettling, unfiltered truth about why Sigma females have nobody in their lives, and why they're completely, almost terrifyingly okay with that. Oh, and spoiler alert, it's not because they don't fit in. It's because they're done pretending they want to. Let's begin. Number 1. They're the final evolution of unbothered. They're the final evolution of unbothered. You can't rattle them with silence, you can't shake them with gossip, and you definitely can't break them with rejection. Sigma females don't play the social chess game everyone else is obsessed with. They don't refresh their phones waiting for a reply. They don't craft the perfect response just to keep someone interested. They don't argue to be understood. They already understand themselves, and that's more than enough. What makes this level of calm so unsettling is that it's not fake. It's not a front. It's not the cold, detached version some people use to hide insecurity. Sigma females are truly and deeply at peace with who walks out of their life. If someone stops calling, she won't chase. If someone tries to manipulate her with emotional withdrawal, she'll thank them for removing the noise. She's not passive-aggressive. She's just done. This unshakable energy confuses people who are used to drama, attention-seeking, or emotional chaos. They expect some reaction, tears, anger, begging. Instead, they're met with a terrifying kind of stillness. A silence that doesn't ask for closure. A presence that doesn't flinch. That's why Sigma females often find themselves alone, because they don't reward bad behavior with attention. And in today's world, if you don't react, you disappear from people's lives faster than you entered. But here's the thing. They don't just tolerate solitude, they prefer it. Not because they hate people, but because they know peace is a luxury most never find. They guard theirs like it's sacred. When your energy is that stable, you stop inviting chaos. And chaos hates being ignored. So yes, Sigma females have nobody in their lives, at least not in the way most people do. No clingy friends, no emotional vampires, no needy circles draining their life force, just quiet, clarity, control, and the kind of freedom that makes people whisper about them behind their backs, while secretly wishing they had the guts to live the same way. Number 2, they're not emotionally accessible on demand. They're not emotionally accessible on demand, and they don't apologize for it. If you're the type who expects instant replies, daily check-ins, or someone to be emotionally on call, a Sigma female will feel like a disappearing act. But here's the truth. She's not ghosting you. She's recharging, recentering, and realigning with herself. She doesn't perform emotional labor just because you're having a moment. She's not going to drop everything to coddle your chaos, especially if it's the same pattern on repeat. Her energy has a cost, and she won't invest it in people who think availability equals love. She doesn't see constant communication as a measure of closeness. She sees it as noise if there's no substance behind it. The world rewards people who are always on, always reachable, always emotionally reactive. Sigma females reject that pressure entirely. They don't live life glued to their phones or feel obligated to soothe people just to keep connections alive. When life gets overwhelming, they go dark, not to hurt you, but to heal themselves. While others are clinging to conversations they don't even care about, She's somewhere journaling, hiking, meditating, or diving into the depths of her own mind. This kind of withdrawal makes people uncomfortable, especially those used to emotional codependence. Most people call it distance, coldness, aloofness, but to her it's alignment. It's how she stays sharp, self-aware, and emotionally independent. She doesn't lean on others to process her emotions. She goes inward, and she stays there until the clarity returns. And by the time she re-emerges, she's even more powerful, more focused, more grounded, and less tolerant of anything or anyone who disrupts that inner balance. If that makes people walk away, so be it. She's not here to be convenient. She's here to be whole. Number 3, they observe before they attach. They observe before they attach, and that unnerves people. While most rush into friendships, relationships, or emotional bonds fueled by excitement, loneliness, or surface chemistry, the Sigma female takes her time. And then some. She doesn't lead with desire, flattery, or desperation. She leads with observation. Quiet, razor-sharp, almost surgical observation. She's not watching you to be entertained. She's watching to assess your patterns, your contradictions, your emotional reflexes, the things you say without realizing, and more importantly, the things you don't say. Every eye roll, every offhand comment, every time you try to impress her, it's all filed away. Not for manipulation, but for discernment. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for truth. And if she finds too many red flags in your energy, in your habits, in how you treat people when you think no one's watching, she's out. This is what makes her presence so confusing to people. One minute you think it's going well. You're vibing, laughing, texting. Then suddenly she's gone. No argument, no explanation, no drama. Why? Because she already made her decision before you even realized you were being evaluated. To her, connection isn't about chemistry. It's about clarity. And if your energy doesn't align with her integrity, your access gets revoked quietly. Most people can't handle that level of emotional filtering. They mistake her silence for shyness, her detachment for arrogance, her delay for disinterest. But really, she's just not rushing to bond with people she'll regret entertaining later. It's not cold, it's intelligent. She knows that false attachments waste time, drain energy, and blur focus. So before she lets you in, she needs to know who and what she's really dealing with. That's not paranoia. That's self-preservation at its highest level. And by the time you feel ready to impress her, she may have already moved on without ever saying a word. Number 4, they're allergic to performative empathy. They're allergic to performative empathy, and they can sniff it out like smoke in a room full of perfume. You know the kind, those over-the-top social media posts about kindness, the performative tears in public spaces, the perfectly timed concern when everyone's watching. Sigma females don't just see through it, they despise it. To them, real empathy isn't loud. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't post selfies at charity events or broadcast every act of kindness like a PR campaign. Sigma females see empathy as sacred, a private connection between souls, not a tool for clout. And if your compassion comes with hashtags, filters, or applause, she's already backing away. She watches how you treat the waitress, how you talk about people who can't benefit you, how you act when no one's filming. That's where real character shows, and when it doesn't align with your public kindness, she cuts the cord without explanation. To her, fake empathy is emotional fraud. It's currency for the attention-hungry, and she's not buying it. Her own empathy is different. It's rare, deep, and often invisible. You won't always see it, but you'll feel it if you've earned it. She's the one who helps quietly, supports without fanfare, and vanishes after, not because she wants credit, but because the act itself was enough. And that's what makes her terrifying to those who fake it. She exposes them just by existing. Most people don't qualify for her compassion, not because she's heartless, but because she refuses to water down something so pure for people who see kindness as currency. She'd rather be labeled cold than be emotionally available to manipulators or spotlight seekers. So if you're wondering why she keeps her distance while everyone else is singing your praises, it's because she knows the difference between real empathy and a performance. And she won't play along. Number 5, they've outnumbered their emotional lives with ideas. They've outnumbered their emotional lives with ideas. And that's what makes them feel so alien to most people. While the world spins on emotional impulse, likes, reactions, petty drama, and mood swings, Sigma females run on something entirely different. Thought. Deep, structured, often unspoken thought. Their inner world isn't filled with emotional chaos. It's filled with mental architecture. Most people lead with their feelings. Who loves them? Who offended them? Who texted back? Who didn't? Their entire day can spiral based on one emotional trigger. But Sigma females? They'd rather spend an hour dissecting a concept than decoding a text. They don't chase butterflies of feeling. They build frameworks of understanding. They're driven by insight. They analyze behavior, deconstruct belief systems, recognize patterns, and challenge norms for fun. While others are wondering, do they like me? She's thinking, what do their actions say about their value system? Emotion doesn't rule her, it informs her. And that subtle difference changes everything. This is why they don't need constant companionship. A dinner with the wrong energy is draining. An evening alone with a book or a wild philosophical thought is exhilarating. People think they're cold because they don't prioritize emotional validation. But the truth is, most emotional exchanges bore them unless there's depth. They'd rather discuss human nature, identity, or the architecture of freedom than gossip about who's dating who. It's not that Sigma females don't feel deeply, they do. But their emotional lives are not messy or dominant. They're curated, focused, and often wrapped in layers of intellectual understanding. They're not looking for a crowd, they're looking for coherence. That's why they seem distant, detached, even robotic to some. But they're not. They're simply living in a headspace where ideas come first. And unless you can meet her there, in thought, in depth, in awareness, you'll never feel close to her, no matter how hard you try. Number 6. They carry emotional baggage like a samurai carries a sword. They carry emotional baggage like a samurai carries a sword, not as a burden, but as a tool, sharpened through battle, held with intention, and never used recklessly. Sigma females don't drag their past behind them like a sob story. They don't wear trauma like a personality trait. They carry their pain with precision, quietly, powerfully, and with full ownership. Where others dwell, they dissect. Where others numb, they reflect. The heartbreaks, betrayals, failures, they've been through it all. But instead of letting it break them, they used every blow to refine themselves. There's no whining, no begging for pity, no rehashing the same old wounds for attention. The Sigma female processes her past like a warrior studies her enemy, clinically, strategically, and without emotional indulgence. This is why people who trauma bond find her unbearable. She won't sit around swapping victim stories for validation. She won't entertain cycles of mutual damage disguised as closeness. She doesn't need to suffer out loud to feel real. In fact, she finds strength in her silence. To her, pain isn't a conversation starter, it's a private transformation. Her scars are not for display, they are reminders. Proof of what she's survived and what she'll never tolerate again. And she uses them wisely, sometimes to protect her boundaries, sometimes to cut through people's nonsense, and sometimes just to remind herself, you already made it through worse. This is also why people think she's emotionally unavailable or too intense. She doesn't flinch at darkness, she doesn't romanticize wounds, and she definitely doesn't use pain as a shortcut to connection. Her strength is unsettling because it's earned. It's not performative, it's not loud. It's the quiet kind that says, I've bled before. I'm not afraid to bleed again, but I'm not bleeding for you. That kind of emotional self-mastery, most people can't handle it, so they label her cold. But the truth is, she's just already done the work they're still running from. Number 7. They outgrow people fast, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They outgrow people fast, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and it's not because they think they're better, it's because they're built to evolve constantly. Sigma females don't stay still. They question, shed, rebuild, and level up with a speed that makes most people around them feel like they're stuck in slow motion. What used to be stimulating becomes boring. Conversations that once lit her up now feel like déjà vu. Small talk becomes intolerable. Drama sounds childish. Emotional games feel like wasted bandwidth. And the people who once matched her frequency, they're still looping the same complaints, the same mindsets, the same broken beliefs, and she's already moved 3 layers deeper. Most people want to bond over nostalgia, routine, or familiarity. Sigma females don't. They bond through growth, and the moment that growth dies, so does the connection. She's not going to pretend to be entertained by outdated thinking just to keep someone comfortable. If your mindset hasn't evolved, she'll outgrow you without blinking. And it's not just about intellect, it's emotional and spiritual too. She grows in how she processes pain, how she communicates, how she sees the world and what she tolerates. People she once protected, she now distances from. Places she once felt safe, she now sees clearly. It's not about betrayal, it's about clarity. And clarity can be brutal. This constant evolution makes her feel like she's always alone at the edge of the map, watching everyone else play it safe in circles. They can't keep up, and she's not going to slow down just to make them feel less inadequate. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. And so, one by one, people fall off, not with drama, but with distance. She doesn't push them, they just can't hold on to a woman who keeps transforming while they stay the same. And by the time they realize it, she's already gone, not looking back, not regretting anything, just climbing. Number 8. They don't fear losing people, they fear losing themselves. They don't fear losing people, they fear losing themselves. That's the line Sigma females live by, and it guides every connection they make or break. Most people will bend, shrink, or water themselves down just to keep someone around, not her. The second a relationship threatens her authenticity, she's out. No matter how long you've known each other, no matter how deep the bond, no matter what's at stake. To outsiders, it can look cold. How do you just walk away from someone you've shared years with? How do you cut off a relationship that once felt like family? But to her, the real question is, how could I stay if staying means betraying who I am? She's not wired for self-sacrifice at the cost of her identity. She knows that once you start compromising your truth to maintain a connection, you're not in a relationship. You're in a performance. That's why she's quick to distance herself when the energy shifts. It's not about being dramatic or avoidant. It's about preservation. She watches for the subtle signs. When someone stops respecting her boundaries, when they start projecting, when they expect her to be someone she's not. And once she sees the pattern, she doesn't argue. She doesn't try to fix it. She just lets go. This level of detachment is foreign to most. People are taught that loyalty means holding on, even when it hurts. But for the Sigma female, loyalty starts with self. If a connection begins to fracture her sense of peace, clarity, or alignment, she'll choose solitude over sentiment every time. And the truth is, she grieves privately. She feels the loss. But she never regrets protecting her soul. Because at the end of the day, people may come and go, but losing yourself, that's a cost she refuses to pay. Her peace is not up for negotiation, and neither is her identity. Most people can't understand that, but she's not most people. Number 9, they're a mirror most people can't stare into. They're a mirror most people can't stare into, and it's not because they're trying to be intimidating. It's because their very existence reflects what others are trying to hide. Sigma females don't have to criticize, compete, or correct you to shake your confidence. All they have to do is be themselves. And that alone is enough to make people uncomfortable. She walks into a room and doesn't need to prove anything. She doesn't seek attention, validation, or approval. That quiet self-possession, it disrupts people. It triggers insecurity without a single word. Because deep down, most people are performing. They're wearing masks, chasing applause, trying to belong. But she's not. And when someone is unapologetically authentic, it shines a light on just how much pretending others are doing. People often mistake her presence for judgment. They assume she's being aloof, critical, or superior. But in reality, she's just observing, calm, detached, unmoved. And that's terrifying for anyone who relies on external validation to feel whole. Her silence doesn't flatter egos. Her independence doesn't feed codependency. Her presence doesn't bend to make others comfortable. And that's why people often walk away, not in anger, but in quiet discomfort. It's not that she hurt them. It's that she revealed them. Without trying, she exposes the cracks. the insecurities, the inconsistencies between who they are and who they pretend to be. And instead of facing those truths, most people choose distance. It's easier to blame her for being cold or too much than to admit what she showed them about themselves. Sigma females don't weaponize this power, they just don't dilute it. They've done the inner work most people avoid. They've sat with their darkness, owned their flaws, and risen without applause. And when someone like that stands in front of you, fully grounded, fully unbothered, it becomes a mirror you didn't ask for, but can't ignore. And most people aren't ready to see what's staring back. Number 10, they can't tolerate emotional laziness. They can't tolerate emotional laziness at all. Sigma females aren't interested in surface-level talk, recycled drama, or people who treat self-awareness like an optional hobby. She doesn't expect perfection, but she does expect effort, emotional effort. And if you can't meet her there, she's gone before you even realize you were being evaluated. She's not going to sit through endless small talk about your weekend if your entire emotional world is a mess you refuse to clean up. She doesn't have time for people who dump their problems on others but never do the inner work to change. And the worst offenders? The ones who proudly say, "That's just how I am." That line alone is enough to make her emotionally disappear without a word. To her, emotional laziness isn't harmless, it's dangerous. It leads to toxic cycles, performative empathy, and relationships that feed on guilt instead of growth. She needs depth. She needs ownership. She needs you to at least try to understand your own patterns before expecting her to tolerate them. When someone vents without reflecting, complains without action, or repeats the same chaos expecting sympathy, she doesn't lean in. She checks out, quietly, instantly, completely. Not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. She knows how heavy emotional labor can be, and she refuses to carry what you won't even acknowledge. She respects people who can say, "I was wrong," or "I'm working on it," more than those who constantly need saving. Accountability is sexy to her, self-reflection is magnetic. But if you bring her emotional dead weight wrapped in excuses, she won't argue, she won't fix you, she won't even lecture you, she'll simply disappear. Because to her, emotional laziness is a red flag louder than any drama. It means you're not ready, not honest, not safe to connect with. And she'd rather be alone with her clarity than entangled in someone else's chaos disguised as personality. Number 11. They don't beg to be understood. And that's unsettling. They don't beg to be understood. And that alone unsettles people more than anger ever could. Most people are used to others trying to explain themselves, clarify their intentions, prove their worth, or chase after approval. But Sigma females don't play that game. If you misunderstand her, twist her words, or make assumptions, she won't correct you. She'll just let you be wrong. That silence, it's not weakness. It's her way of saying, "Your misunderstanding is not my responsibility." We live in a world where people fight to be seen, heard, and validated. But a Sigma female walks away from all of it. She's already done the internal work. She knows who she is, what she stands for, and what she's not willing to tolerate. So if someone doesn't get her, misjudges her, or misreads her intentions, she doesn't crumble. She doesn't perform. She doesn't over-explain. She just steps back. And that silence? It's loud. It's intentional. It creates a discomfort that many can't handle because it forces them to sit with their assumptions without being rescued by her explanation. People expect reactions, defensiveness, emotional appeals, maybe even begging. When they get absolutely nothing, it confuses them. It threatens them. Because suddenly, they're the ones exposed. She doesn't need to be liked. She doesn't need to be seen as nice. She doesn't need to plead her case to be understood. That kind of emotional self-containment is rare and unnerving because it signals one terrifying truth. She's not afraid to be misunderstood if it means protecting her peace. Most people are addicted to being perceived a certain way. The Sigma female is addicted to staying true to herself. And if that means someone walks away thinking she's arrogant, cold, or aloof, so be it. She'd rather be misjudged in silence than waste her energy trying to convince someone who was never listening in the first place. Number 12. They speak in uncomfortable truths. They speak in uncomfortable truths. and they don't flinch when those truths make people squirm. Sigma females aren't wired for politeness at the expense of honesty. They won't lie to keep the peace, and they definitely won't sugarcoat reality just to spare your ego. If you're lying to yourself about your relationship, your career, your identity, they'll call it out, sometimes with words, sometimes with just a look that says, "You know this isn't it." This makes people deeply uncomfortable. Why? Because most live in carefully crafted illusions. They pretend their relationship is healthy. They act like their goals still matter. They convince themselves that their fake confidence is real. And then, a Sigma female enters the room and disrupts all of it with a sentence so precise it slices through the nonsense like a blade. She's not being rude, she's being honest, but because the world is so used to watered-down communication, her blunt clarity feels like an attack. And the irony? She's not even trying to be confrontational. She just refuses to participate in delusion. She'll tell you your relationship isn't love, it's codependency. She'll say your dream job is really just a socially acceptable cage. She'll look at your success and ask, "But are you happy or just impressive?" And while others might gasp or shift uncomfortably, she won't apologize, because in her world, truth is a gift, even if it stings. She doesn't use truth as a weapon, but as a mirror. And most people don't want to see their real reflection. They want validation, not vision. So when she speaks, rooms go quiet, people avoid her. Some even resent her, but deep down they remember every word she said, because it hit a part of them they were trying to hide. Sigma females don't do nice, they do real. And real? Real doesn't just make people uncomfortable. It clears the room, and leaves only those who are truly ready to face themselves. The Sigma female isn't alone because she's broken, bitter, or unlovable. She's alone because she's chosen clarity over chaos, growth over comfort, and authenticity over approval. In a world addicted to noise, she thrives in silence. In a society obsessed with being liked, she's mastered the art of being real, even if it costs her every superficial connection. She doesn't chase validation. She doesn't fear being misunderstood. She doesn't beg for inclusion or trade her soul for temporary companionship. She walks away not to prove a point, but to protect her peace. That's what terrifies people the most. She's not angry. She's not begging, she's not broken, she's just done. She doesn't have nobody in her life because she can't connect. She has nobody because she refuses to entertain anything that dilutes her spirit. She'd rather sit in silence with her truth than in a crowded room of emotional fakery. She doesn't crave quantity, she craves quality. And if it's not real, she'll walk alone. Every scar she carries has become armor. Every ending she's endured has become a boundary. And every time she's chosen herself over approval, she's evolved into a version of womanhood most people aren't ready for. So the next time you see a Sigma female alone, don't assume she's lonely. Assume she's filtered out everything that couldn't meet her depth, and in a world where everyone's performing, pretending, or pacifying, that kind of solitude isn't a weakness. It's a superpower. If this spoke to something deep inside you, don't just scroll away. Hit that subscribe button and become part of a community that gets it. Like this video if it opened your eyes. Comment below and tell us which part hit the hardest, or what you've experienced on your own journey. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. You never know who's quietly struggling to stay true to themselves in a world that keeps asking them to perform. Your engagement isn't just support, it's fuel. Let's keep this energy going. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Because the world needs fewer filters and more raw, unapologetic truth.